This is the Lenovo Legion GO, and for the better part of a month, I've been using it as a more powerful alternative to the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, of course, the Nintendo Switch 2 isn't available yet, so in this video, I'm going to list simple facts about the Nintendo Switch 2 and Lenovo Legion GO side by side, but at the end of the day, they're just numbers. They don't represent your personal experience with a handheld, and until I try the Nintendo Switch 2 myself, everything is hypothetical. But let's list some numbers. Now, the Switch 2 is armed with an NVIDIA Tegra Drake. It uses 8 ARM cores, which are better suited for mobile gaming with less power, while the Legion GO uses a Z1 Extreme chip, which has 8 RDNA 3 cores, which is better for high-powered gaming, similar to the PlayStation 5 with its RDNA 2 cores. Pretty much the Legion GO can handle newer titles easier than the Nintendo Switch 2 in theory. On the Nintendo Switch 2, Cyberpunk 2077 is $70, but the entire game is stored inside of the cartridge. So I will ask you guys, even if you don't have a Nintendo Switch 2, support Cyberpunk 2077. This is the last of the Mohegans. It's pretty much the last real physical game we're going to get. So even though I don't support the $80 price tags, I will 100% back CD Projekt Red's approach to physical games with Cyberpunk 2077 on the Switch 2. But like I was saying, the game is $70, and on Steam or on alternative websites, Cyberpunk 2077 can be bought for as low as $15 for the Legion GO. And the Nintendo Switch 2 will have exclusives like Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Metroid Prime 4, which a lot of people have been waiting for. But Steam also kind of has its own type of exclusives from the Xbox and PlayStation consoles, which in my best assumption will be impossible for the Switch 2 to have, like the entire Halo collection, as well as The Last of Us Part 1 and 2, which are labeled verified on SteamOS and compatible with Windows as well. But if you are using SteamOS, it is a free operating system that you can install into the Legion GO to make it as close to a Nintendo Switch experience as possible. And the Nintendo Switch 2's menus aren't very different from the first Switch. But with SteamOS installed into your Legion GO, not only can it provide a similar experience to the Switch, but SteamOS is fully customizable with theme songs, like most Nintendo customers have been requesting for the last 8 years. So if you wanted your main menu to play Wii U sound effects or music, you can have it with SteamOS. Not only is SteamOS customizable, but every game you're going to play on Legion GO is fully customizable. And if you don't want to customize your experience, there is also default modes that provide streamlined experiences for Legion GO's processor, which are usually medium to high settings. But customizing your games can provide a tailored experience, which can give you more fidelity or performance or even more battery life. For example, a game like Cyberpunk 2077's graphics can be turned down to enable your battery to last longer than 2 hours. And the least amount that the Nintendo Switch 2's battery can last is 2 hours. But the Nintendo Switch 2's games have 2 modes, performance and quality. Performance will favor FPS, while quality favors resolution and graphics fidelity. And the Legion GO is armed with an 8.8-inch 1600p 144Hz display, while the Switch 2 has a 7.9-inch HDR VRR 1080p 120Hz display. And like I said before, while the Nintendo Switch 2 does have a performance mode that enables games like Cyberpunk 2077 to play above 30 FPS in performance mode docked so far, so you will either get 1080p 30 FPS or 720p 40 FPS handheld. While the Legion GO with Cyberpunk 2077 can provide an experience at 1080p 60 FPS, with a few tweaking here and there to the graphic settings and FSR upscaler. And speaking of upscaling, the Nintendo Switch 2 has an upscaling feature, but it's locked away from the user. Usually you just have performance and quality mode. But a lot of YouTube channels, like Digital Foundry, are having a hard time spotting Nintendo Switch 2's upscaling method. The theory is they're using a form of DLSS, which is similar to FSR. But yes, the Legion GO uses FSR, which is an AMD processor-based upscaling method, while the Nintendo Switch 2 uses DLSS, which is an NVIDIA processor-based upscaling method. And personally for me, I prefer DLSS. I think that's better, but we're not talking about what's better here. The Switch 2 can wake the console with either Joy-Cons or supported controllers, while the Legion GO can be woken up with any Bluetooth controller like DualSense or Xbox or even Switch 1 and 2 Joy-Cons icons, in theory, by pressing the home button, as long as you're using SteamOS. The Switch 2 has one model available with 256 gigabytes, and the Legion Go has two models available, one with 512 gigabytes and the other with 1 terabyte. And with the 1 terabyte model, you can install up to 50 full-size games into your Legion Go, while the Nintendo Switch 2's file size will be between something like PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 file size. So basically similar to the Legion Go, and if it's 1/4 the size of that 1 terabyte, you're only going to be able to fit about 10 to 15 games if you're lucky. The Nintendo Switch 2's expandable storage currently only has one size, which is $60 for 256 gigabytes, which is an express micro SD card, while the Legion Go can support any SD card, regardless of how fast or slow it is to play its games, and currently has a 2 terabyte micro SD card available for $180, or a 512 gigabyte micro SD for as low as $30 at Best Buy. And you can play games like Elden Ring, Cyberpunk 2077, Street Fighter 6, or any other AAA title with any SD card on your Legion Go without having to pay 2 times the price. And if you're using an operating system like SteamOS, then there will be shader caching involved, which will install cache files into your internal memory and will allow for better performance with those slower SD cards. And currently, the Nintendo Switch 2 is $450 for the base model with 256 gigabytes, and the Legion Go is currently on sale for $600 for the 512 gigabyte model, and that's double the storage for $150 more. And the 1 terabyte model is going for $750, but usually goes on sale for $700. So that's a total of $300 more for 4 times the storage on your Legion Go. The Switch 2 has detachable controllers, with both controllers capable of motion and mouse controls and vibration. The Legion Go also has 2 detachable controllers, both being capable of motion controls, vibration, and the right controller has a functional trackpad with an FPS mode, and has an included stand to use the right controller upright as a mouse, similar to how you would control a TIE fighter. The Legion Go's controllers also have back buttons capable of full customization to do as much as raising the volume of your system or making standard button shortcuts on either Windows or SteamOS. The Switch 2 includes a 20 watt-hour battery with 2 to 6.5 hours of game time, depending which game you're playing, and takes 3 hours to fully charge, while the Legion Go includes a 49.2 watt-hour battery with 1 to 8 hours of game time depending what power profile you're using, and the Legion Go's battery takes 2 hours to fully charge. The Switch 2's game library is made up of select Switch 1 games, along with currently more than 40 games confirmed for the first year of the Switch 2's launch, while the Legion Go has tens of thousands of games compatible with Windows and over 17,000 verified or playable games on SteamOS, guaranteed to work with the Steam operating system, mostly. Whichever way you look at it, the Switch 2 is a cheaper handheld with incredible performance for the price and size, which is, by the way, 1.16 pounds with the Joy-Con 2s attached, while the Legion Go is 1.8 pounds with the controllers attached. But the Legion Go with SteamOS installed is a handheld capable of the same convenience that a Nintendo Switch would give you with a highly customizable UI. But not only that, it's an even more powerful handheld than the Nintendo Switch 2. The only catch, it's $150 more for double the amount of storage and power, and less than half the price for games. Well, I guess that's not much of a catch. And don't get me wrong, I'm still looking forward to the Nintendo Switch 2, regardless of ridiculous prices, and even though I have more powerful handhelds readily available to me, like my Legion Go, Steam Deck, and ROG Ally hybrids. It's going to be incredibly exciting to have another handheld, and I understand that pre-ordering and purchasing the Switch 2 isn't exactly supporting those ridiculous game prices. It's only supporting the fairly priced handheld and hardware. So I do agree with a lot of those people that are saying that if you buy a Nintendo Switch 2, you're not supporting those terrible practices of selling $80. And well, I guess for the most part, I'm not going to buy $80 games. I'm not going to buy Mario Kart World, and possibly not even Metroid Prime 4. I'm not really much of a Metroid Prime fan in the first place. I have remastered for the Switch 1, but I've only played 1 hour of it. And let's get another fact straight. The Nintendo Switch and the Legion Go are for completely different customers. One supports third-party games like no other handheld, which is the Legion Go. The other supports first-party games like no other handheld, which is the Nintendo Switch 1 and 2. I still believe that the Nintendo Switch 1 is a better handheld than the Legion Go, Steam Deck, and ROG Ally, simply for the fact that they support their first-party games like no other console or handheld has ever come before or after them. And even though I will carry on with my miniature boycott of the $80 games, I recently bought a Nintendo Switch 2 for my girlfriend through a family member who pre-ordered too. And I will most definitely be supporting Cyberpunk 2077 since it's one of the only physical games that actually include the entire game and its DLC inside of the cartridge or CD. So I will be testing Cyberpunk 2077 on that Nintendo Switch 2 alongside Street Fighter 6, but only borrowed, of course, because I want to play Street Fighter 6 with some friends and some family by my birthday, which is on June, and they just so happen to have Street Fighter 6. So I'll be testing that, but I won't own it, don't worry, because I don't support the game key cards. But if I really like the Nintendo Switch, I may pick it up someday. Maybe I'll offer one of those family members some money for their Nintendo Switch too if I like it enough. They even said they could sell it to me if I want, but I honestly don't know if I'm going to like the handheld. And pre-ordering the Nintendo Switch 2 might have been hell for them. I heard that it was terrible to order it online and they had to wait for like 4 hours or something like that. So I don't want to buy that from them. I want to get one myself. I want to earn it myself. So I'll just be trying out my girlfriend's Nintendo Switch 2. Similar to how I borrowed the ROG Ally X. For around 2 months, I'll have the Nintendo Switch 2 at my disposal for a couple of weeks because we are moving. So just prepare for that. There might be a delay in videos due to all the moving. I might have to get some kind of office space in order to make my videos from now on, but I will try to make as many Nintendo Switch 2 videos as humanly possible just because as a tinkerer, I want to see if the Legion Go is actually more powerful than the Nintendo Switch 2 besides just on paper. But yeah guys, thank you so much for watching and let me know what you think about the Nintendo Switch 2 in the comments below. Do you think the Legion Go is more powerful? Of course, it looks that way on paper, but we'll see, and hope you have a good one. Later.